Okay, we're going to just discuss materials in this section of the video course, and I'm going to essentially use a limited palette, and I'm going to discuss that in complete detail in one of the future videos. And that's any red, any yellow, any blue, plus white. So it's essentially 4 colors, and if I mix red, yellow, and white, I get a flesh tone. Any red, any yellow, any white. For a dark value, all I need to mix is any brown with blue, and that'll get me a black or dark value. And I get the brown by mixing the 3 primaries, red, yellow, and blue. And I'll discuss substitutes for that. Now, the properties of colors you have to worry about are chroma, which is the color, red, white, red, green, blue, yellow, orange. The value, whether it's light and dark, the temperature, warm or cool. Yellow's warm, blue would be cool. Intensity, whether it's bright or dull. Yellow ochre would be dull, cadmium red light would be bright. And whether the paint is transparent or opaque. Transparent is good for glazing, and I'll discuss that later on, and opaque is good for highlights. Now, some of the, let me just go over the materials. I'm going to be using a paper palette. It's like wax paper. It's very easy to use, and it's disposable. I'm going to be taping this to a regular palette. And it's very easy to use and inexpensive. The colors, my mediums are going to be Turpenoid for the wash-ins and for the early stages. Like I mentioned before, Neomeglip, which is my painting medium for most of the mid-tones and the flesh tones. And at the very end I'll go to straight paint. Now my paint is going to be limited. I'm going to use white, and I'm going to use essentially artist grade. This is Gambling, this is the ultramarine blue, yellow ochre. This is burnt sienna, and this is cadmium red light, which I'm going to use for the flesh tone. These are all artist grade. You can buy much less expensive student grades that have more binder and less pigment. They're a lot cheaper, and anytime you see the word hue after the color, like cadmium red light hue, that means it's not really a cadmium based paint. It's probably an synthetic organic, and it'll be much cheaper. And for students, I suggest you get those. Brushes, initially I'm going to start out with very inexpensive hot bristle brushes. They cost less than $1 a piece. They're good for, initial starting and scrubbing the paint in, because you don't really worry about wearing them out. As I further build up the painting, I'll go to much better brushes. These are flats and filberts, filbert's basically just a flat that has rounded edges, and I'll use a whole variety of sizes from number 1 to number 12, and I'll always try to use a brush that's bigger than what I really need initially, so I stay away from details in the initial part of the painting. You'll see me use Q-tips initially, or a rag to wipe things out. Palette knives I will use to mix paint, and maybe I'll use this little trowel thing, palette knife at the very end to put in some of the highlights with very thick opaque paint. And although I won't use it here, this is a useful little thing to have. It's a viewfinder. If you're trying to figure out a composition for a figurative or painting or still life, you can use this as part of your toolkit in the painting box. Now what I've trying to do here is, by using a limited palette and few colors, I'm trying to keep your costs down under $100, so that at least for the beginner, you don't have to spend a lot of money. I would suggest you buy your canvases, or you can buy canvas board. Start small. These again are relatively inexpensive. If you go to linen rather than cotton duck, the linen is much more expensive, and I would suggest that for beginners you use cotton duck and canvas boards if possible. And next we're going to discuss color in more detail.